Before you scroll, listen carefully. This isn't a ghost story. This is a warning. They buried her on the highest hill, where the cemetery looks down on the whole city like a judge. Her name was Sana Rahim, famous, rich, praised as a benefactor. Cameras loved her, newspapers adored her, people clapped when she arrived because she knew how to turn charity into a show. But I worked among real grief, real hunger, real prayers whispered by people who had nothing left to sell. And I knew her real talent wasn't kindness, it was control. She didn't break people with fists, she broke them with promises, with contracts, with delays that slowly killed hope. She'd smile, and the world would believe her until they needed medicine, wages, school fees, and all they got was silence. Tonight, they lowered her into the ground like a queen, and the earth didn't welcome her. When the mourners left, the iron gate slammed shut like a verdict. The silence after a funeral is different. It's not peace. It's the moment the world stops pretending. Her grave was fresh, the soil dark and heavy like it didn't want to settle. The headstone was already polished, too clean, too proud. It felt like a billboard planted in the wrong place. It read, "Beloved Benefactor." That word sat there like a lie carved into reality, like it could force the truth to kneel. I stood with my lantern, staring at it, and I felt something cold move through my ribs. Not fear of spirits, not superstition, something closer to certainty. Because people like Sana spend their whole lives escaping consequences. They build walls out of money, fame, and clean speeches. They wrap themselves in so many layers that nothing can touch them. But a grave is the one place where the layers don't matter. And the hill was too quiet, as if the earth was waiting for her to wake up.
I told myself to walk away. The dead don't speak. The dead don't threaten. The dead don't bargain. Then I heard it. A dull knock from beneath the earth. One udar. Heavy, hollow. Then another. Then a third, slower, deliberate, like someone testing the lid of a locked box. I froze so hard my lungs refused to move. My lantern shook, throwing wild shadows across the graves. The sound didn't come from above ground, not from footsteps or animals. It came from inside the grave, inside the coffin. And then the scraping started, nails dragging across wood, slow at first, then frantic, as if someone's fingertips were tearing themselves raw in the dark. My mouth went dry enough to crack. A voice pushed up through the soil, muffled, furious, unmistakable. "Open it!" Not a plea, an order. Even buried, she spoke like the world still belonged to her. I stepped back without meaning to. My heart was hammering so hard I felt it in my throat. "Sana," I whispered, because my mind couldn't accept what my ears were hearing. Her voice snapped back immediately, sharp and offended. "You know who I am," she snarled. "Open this coffin or I'll destroy you." A dead woman threatening the living. And the most terrifying part? She sounded exactly like she did in life. Cold, certain, like money could rewrite the laws of soil and night. I tried to speak, but my voice came out thin. "I can't." "You can," she hissed. "You will. You owe me." I'd heard that sentence before in different places. Office corridors, court steps, whispered deals at charity events. "You owe me." As if humans were nothing but accounts to collect from. But here, in the cemetery, her words felt smaller. The darkness didn't respect them. The ground didn't flinch. And something else was listening.
Then her tone changed, smooth, practiced, poisonous in its sweetness. "Harris," she whispered, like we were old friends. "This is a mistake. I'm alive. Help me, and I'll make you rich." Bribery from a grave. I felt my stomach twist, because even now, even trapped underground, her first instinct was negotiation. Not repentance, not fear, a deal. But before I could answer, something moved beneath the soil. Not a collapse, not a rat, not a burrow. Something slow, heavy, coiling, like the earth itself was turning over in its sleep. Sana stopped talking mid-sentence. I heard her breath shift into panic. "What is that sound?" she whispered, and I heard it too, a dry, sliding rustle inside the coffin, the kind of sound that doesn't belong to wood and velvet, the kind of sound that belongs to scales. A nightmare formed in my mind, clear as if a camera had switched on inside the coffin. Dark velvet, air that tastes like panic, her breath bouncing off the lid and coming back smaller every second. And across her chest, a thick snake slid like a living rope, slow, silent, not striking, just claiming space, inch by inch, patient and cold. It moved with the confidence of something that knew she couldn't run. Sana tried to lift her arms. Wood stopped her. The coffin was tight as a fist. The snake's weight made it tighter. Then came the second horror. Tiny clicks, dozens of them, moving together. Scorpions, not one, many, crawling along seams, over fabric, up her wrists, their legs tapping like nervous clocks in a room with no exit. Sana's voice tore upward through the earth. "Haris, open it!" And for the first time, her voice didn't sound powerful. It sounded trapped.
Her scream wasn't about pain like the movies. It was about control collapsing. The snake tightened slightly whenever she thrashed, turning every breath into a bargain. The scorpions climbed higher, wrists, ankles, neck, places you can't ignore, places you can't pretend are fine. And she started begging, real begging, the kind she never gave anyone else. "Please, please, get them off me." I stood there shaking, lantern trembling in my hand, listening to a woman who once terrified half the city, now terrified of creatures she couldn't bribe. If you want more horror stories like this, subscribe now, because it gets darker from here. Inside the grave, Sana tried to bargain again. "I'll donate, I'll confess, I'll do anything." Anything except return what she took. And the grave didn't respond to promises. It responded to truth.
Then the air changed. Heavy, like a courtroom filled with invisible witnesses. Even the lantern flame flattened, as if the night leaned in to listen. A voice spoke, calm, merciless, final. "You do not decide what you deserve." Sana went quiet instantly, like a liar caught mid-sentence. "Who are you?" she whispered. The answer came like stone. A truth you avoided. I couldn't see anything, no shadow figure, no face, yet I felt the presence like pressure against my ribs. This wasn't a monster hiding in the dark. This was consequence. Sana swallowed hard. "I prayed," she said, voice shaking. "I gave charity. The voice didn't argue. It didn't insult. It simply waited, the way a locked door waits when you don't have the key. And the grave kept crawling. The voice demanded one thing: return what you took. Sana reached for excuses like she always did. "I created jobs. I helped people. I built programs." The voice answered in a tone that made lies feel childish. "You built your name." And then, Like evidence dumped onto a table, images hit me. Sharp, brutal, undeniable. A mother turned away from a hospital window because the aid never arrived. A man losing his land to a contract written in a language he couldn't read. A girl holding scholarship papers that meant nothing. Sana whispered, trembling, "Everyone does it." The voice replied, colder than winter earth, "You let them die slowly." Inside the coffin, the scorpions moved like living punctuation. Each crawl felt like a question. Each sting burned like a stamped receipt. No blood, no spectacle, just proof that couldn't be talked away. Then the punishment became truly brutal. Not fast, not merciful. Slow. The snake tightened enough to make Sana's breathing shallow. Not to kill, but to force awareness. To turn every inhale into a debt she had to pay with fear. The scorpions kept crawling, relentless, methodical, like the grave itself was counting her lies. She tried to hold still. She tried to become small. But in a coffin, you're already small, so the only thing left to shrink is your pride. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I'm scared." The voice answered, "It was never light." And I understood what that meant. The suffering she caused wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a single scream. It was the slow, quiet damage that accumulates until a family breaks. Now she was tasting slow. Now she was tasting quiet. Now she couldn't look away. Then the voice turned to me. "Witness." My knees weakened. "Why me?" I whispered. The reply hit like ice. "Because you saw suffering and looked away." I wanted to deny it, but I remembered the faces at the cemetery gate, people who came to pray because they had nothing else left. I remembered hearing rumors and choosing silence because silence felt safer than truth. The voice gave me a command sharper than any scream. "Caretake the truth." Under the soil, Sana panicked again. Not about snakes, not about scorpions, about her image. "No," she cried, "don't ruin my legacy." Even buried, even terrified, she still clung to the lie above her name. And that's when I reached for the chisel. I placed the chisel on the word benefactor. My hand shook. From beneath the earth, Sana begged, raw, terrified, "Please don't." I struck. Stone chipped hard, dry, brutal. Again, again, each udar peeled the lie off her name. The wind rose like the hill approved, and below, her voice collapsed into exhausted sobbing, thin, small, defeated, because she finally learned the only truth she never accepted. Power ends in soil. What you bury under smiles becomes weight in the dark. I stepped back, lantern trembling, and I didn't look down at the mound again. Some punishments aren't for the living to watch. But the message was carved into me now. Subscribe for more horror stories like this, and watch the next video on your screen. Don't watch it alone.